In the arid plains of northeastern Nigeria, a shadow began to stir, not overnight, but slowly, fed by decades of simmering discontent. This is the story of how that shadow grew, how a local movement morphed into one of the world's most notorious insurgent groups. This is the story of Boko Haram. Our story begins not with violence, but with neglect. Picture towns veiled in dust, where opportunities are as scarce as the rainfall. For generations, this region, rich in history and culture, felt a growing sense of marginalization. The promise of oil wealth, which boomed in other parts of Nigeria, seemed like a distant mirage here. Roads remained unpaved, schools were underfunded, and clean water was a luxury, not a right. This wasn't just poverty. It was a profound sense of being left behind, of being forgotten by the state. Into this vacuum of hope stepped a charismatic preacher named Mohammed Yusuf. In the early 2000s, he established a mosque and a religious complex in Maiduguri, the capital of Borno State. His message was simple, yet powerful. He spoke out against the corruption and inefficiencies of the government. He condemned the influence of Western education, which he argued had eroded traditional values and brought little but social inequality. The name his followers would eventually be known by, Boko Haram, loosely translates to Western education is forbidden. Initially, Yusuf's movement was not overtly violent. It was a social and religious project. He offered what the state could not, a sense of community, a moral code, and basic welfare for the poor. Thousands flocked to his sermons. Unemployed youth, disillusioned students, and families desperate for an alternative to the hardship they faced daily. He was building more than a following. He was building a parallel state, one that promised justice and purity in a world that seemed unjust and corrupt. His followers saw him not as an extremist, but as a savior. But the relationship with the Nigerian state was always fraught with tension. Yusuf's teachings directly challenged the government's authority. Small-scale clashes with security forces began to occur. These incidents were often brutal, escalating the animosity. The followers, who called themselves Yusufiya, became increasingly defiant. They saw the police and military not as protectors, but as the oppressive arm of a secular government they rejected. The state, in turn, viewed the growing movement with deep suspicion, seeing it as a threat to national stability. The tipping point arrived in July 2009. A confrontation over a funeral procession and a new helmet law sparked a full-blown uprising. For 5 days, Yusuf's followers clashed with security forces across several northern states. The government response was overwhelming and merciless. The military laid siege to Yusuf's compound in Maiduguri. When the dust settled, hundreds were dead. Mohammed Yusuf himself was captured, and in an act that would prove to be a catastrophic miscalculation, he was executed in police custody. The government declared victory, believing they had decapitated the movement, but they had done the opposite. They had turned a preacher into a martyr. They had extinguished a leader but ignited a firestorm. The brutal crackdown, instead of crushing the group, radicalized its surviving numbers. They went underground, scattered and vowing revenge. The death of their leader was the final injustice, the ultimate proof that peaceful coexistence with the state was impossible. From the ashes of the 2009 uprising, a new, far more violent entity emerged. Led by Yusuf's deputy, Abubakar Shika, the group reformed not as a social movement, but as a hardened insurgency. Their tactics shifted from public preaching to guerrilla warfare. The shadow that had once stirred in the dust bowls of the Northeast had now become a terrifying specter, ready to unleash a decade of violence that would scar the nation and shock the world. The forgotten corner of Nigeria was about to become the epicenter of a brutal conflict, its origins rooted in poverty, injustice, and a fateful misjudgment. This was not the end of the story, but the beginning of a dark new chapter. Thank you for watching. If you found this documentary insightful, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into complex global issues. Your support helps us continue to bring these important stories to light.